Another team is preparing the food for the palace tables, again working together as an organised group. Still others cook and serve it. It's usually the older wives who are given the responsibility of looking after the infants, while the younger wives are carrying out the heavier duties. It's an almost feudal system, with the Fon ruling his fondom as an undisputed overlord, so lofty in his status that no one ever dares to shake hands with him. Food for the children is laid out in a long row. A lesser male must drink from his cupped hands because he's too lowly to touch the Fon's drinking horn. When the Fon's children come home from school, a school where even the teachers are older children of his, there's always plenty of food waiting. It's an efficient enough system, even if it does seem to lack something in terms of family closeness or personal intimacy.
Bend your knees just a little. Try to keep your knees bent. Okay, let's just say contraction begins and you're already walking down the hallway and you're going to stop, okay? Contraction begins, cleansing breath.
Another solution to the maternal dilemma is to involve the father to a greater extent. This is the paternal solution. And here, in a modern American hospital, fathers are helping to prepare their pregnant wives for childbirth.
Right there, pushing in right here. Especially if we talked about your baby's sunny side up or you have back labor. This really is helpful, okay? So sometimes moms want you to push in just to give a little counter pressure. So he can do that. So either standing or...
In the West, husbands have started to put in an appearance in the delivery room. Indeed, in some countries it's now considered to be rather insulting, rather offhand, if they're not there. But with no biological role to play, many fathers, like this one, feel completely helpless as they watch their wives preparing to give birth.
You carry him.
I told you I would from day one.
If he can assist by making her feel less anxious, then his presence will be invaluable. If not, then it's best if he disappears as quickly as possible.
Here we go.
Let your legs open. And
Oh, good. He's gonna have some color too.
In some countries, fathers are playing an increasingly important role in rearing their children. These fathers in the United States represent a new trend in paternal care. All of these men have wives who are so dedicated to their careers that the couples have switched roles, with the men staying at home while the women go out to work. Inevitably, there's a social stigma attached to the idea of a stay-at-home father. And to give one another moral support, these men have clubbed together and formed an organisation called Dad to Dad. This has enabled them to meet up with one another and compare the special problems faced by the modern house husband.
25. You want to hold Joshua? Well, you ready to get out?
Clearly, this new paternal solution to the maternal dilemma can be of great help where social attitudes are sympathetic, or where male egos are strong enough to ignore any snide remarks. But it has to be admitted that no matter how loving the human male may be, during the early months of the child's life, he's biologically less well equipped than his mate. His biggest failing, of course, is that he can't breastfeed his baby, so he misses out on the intense, intimate bonding that this creates both for the parent and for the infant. Until now, that is. In the United States, a new invention, the baby bonder, gives fathers a much closer sensation of breastfeeding. 2 breast-shaped milk containers are worn on the front of his body at feeding time. For the baby, this works well enough, but there remains the question of whether this novel device will make the father feel too foolish for it to do its job of increasing parental intimacy.
You want to try to burp her?
An objection has been raised to all the non-maternal solutions to the maternal dilemma. It's been argued that since evolution has moulded mothers to care for their own offspring, other carers will never be able to match what they have to offer. During the course of evolution, the human female has been fine-tuned to her baby's needs. She's not even aware of some of her abilities. They're inborn and automatic. For example, within 30 minutes of birth, if she keeps the baby with her against her body, she can identify later on her own baby just by its personal fragrance. And it'd be interesting to test this ability to see whether these mothers are able to do this as well. We don't know whether it'll work, but if they're blindfolded, can they spot which baby is theirs? The mother who thought the baby was hers was asked to raise her hand. And she guessed right. We repeated the experiment, and somewhat to their surprise, every mother was able to identify her own child. We then did the same experiment with the fathers. This time, nobody raised their hand. Overall, the father's success rate was only 50%, indicating that they're less finely tuned than their wives.
I thought it might be, but then because I thought I'd smelled him already, I didn't think you'd do it again. Oh.
This fine-tuning of the human female appears early in life. If a free choice of a range of toys is offered to a mixed group of 5-year-old girls and boys, it's interesting to observe their preferences.
Children, today you're going to look at the toys on the table, look at them carefully, and when you find something that you'd like to play with, then choose that toy and take it back to where you're standing. Okay. Look really carefully.
Despite the fact that at home the parents of these children had deliberately not influenced their choice of toys, all the girls in this experiment chose female playthings such as dolls or objects associated with nurturing. The boys, on the other hand, chose male objects such as trucks, firemen's outfits, or in one case a truncheon, which was immediately put to good use. By the way, the teacher was asked not to intervene during this experiment. So even at this tender age, and even without any parental encouragement, the girls revealed strong mothering tendencies. And as they sat there with their chosen toys, the girls were quieter and more composed, as if programmed for their future role as carers.